Welcome to Ask Rabbit Entitled Parents, where an entitled Karen steals a baby Yoda from a little girl. I have 3 awesome stories for you today. Let's jump into it. This first post is titled, Entitled Woman Takes My Niece's Baby Yoda I Made for Her. Recently, my sister and her husband came to really like Baby Yoda, the child in The Mandalorian. I crochet and made them a Baby Yoda, something my 4-year-old niece liked as well. I ended up making another Baby Yoda in purple, my niece's favorite color specifically for her. Yesterday, I was babysitting my niece and we went to Walmart to pick up some snacks and ingredients for dinner. My niece insisted on bringing her Baby Yoda with us. It happened fast while I was picking through bags of spinach. My niece, who was in the shopping cart, began screaming and crying. Despite not having any children yet, I am more than a little of a mama bear and instantly abandoned the spinach to check on her. My niece was halfway out of the cart, still screaming, pointing at a woman who was walking away with a very familiar purple Baby Yoda in her cart, heading towards the registers. I picked up my niece and stormed after this woman, abandoning my shopping cart as she turned into a register. She had put her things on the checkout conveyor belt when I got there, most of her things already scanned, and she was trying to discuss prices for the Baby Yoda. She said, "It's not in the best of shape, and the price indicated it was $12.99. Could you give me a discount?" I marched over, my sobbing niece in arm, and snatched the Baby Yoda from the surprised clerk who was checking for a tag. The entitled woman screeched as she grabbed for the toy as well. "How dare you! I'm buying this for my daughter. She loves purple, and those other ones are all green." "This belongs to my niece. I made it for her," I snarled. "Liar, you're just angry I got to it first." A manager must have been attracted by the noise of screams because he approached, a less than pleased look on his face. "Is something wrong here?" The entitled woman pointed at me with her free hand. "This woman is trying to take this doll I'm trying to buy for my daughter." I was still trying to keep a grip on the Baby Yoda. "I told you I made this. I doubt the Yodas sold here are made from yarn." The manager called security after a moment of trying to mediate, and I was forced to let go of the Yoda to talk to the guard. Luckily, I like to take pictures of my projects that I finish, so it only took a moment for me to pull out my phone and bring up a picture of the Baby Yoda when I had finished it, namely the picture on the link above. We both turned back to the cash register, and my niece began to cry again when we saw the woman was gone and the manager approached us with a hard look. He said, "I realize that those toys are very popular, but you shouldn't try to steal one of a specific color from someone." I held up my phone, picture still up, and saw the man's face drain of color when he saw the toy in an environment that was very much not his store, but the damage was already done. He had sold my niece's toy to the entitled woman and she had left. Needless to say, I'm never going back to that Walmart, and my niece is still upset about her purple Baby Yoda being stolen. I'm making another one for her currently, one that'll have her name stitched onto the back, so this will never happen again. Alright, this next post is titled, Entitled Mom Pushes Me in My Wheelchair Away from My Family. A few years ago, I was living in Vegas, and an entitled mom literally wheeled me away from my family. I have a number of health issues, and after a few botched surgeries and neurological damage, I was bedridden. I never left my house in bed except for doctor's appointments. I hadn't been out at all for 2.5 years. I had worked really hard on my daily physical therapy, and my balance greatly improved. My family came out for a visit. My husband was stationed at Nellis Air Force Base, and I was so excited to surprise them with my improvements. I could stand and walk and was actually wearing pants. To celebrate, I wanted to go see the fountains at the Bellagio. For most people, this is a nice outing, but for me, this was years in the making. I was nervous I might get overtired and lost in the fast-moving crowds, so we had to bring my wheelchair. We knew the schedule for the fountains and arrived super early to secure a spot in front where I could see from my chair. It was such an important moment for all of us. We lined up by the fence, and no sooner did the show start, I felt this jerking on my wheelchair. I thought maybe someone had tripped on me, and I immediately looked up to apologize. I was pretty self-conscious and ashamed of being out in a wheelchair in such a big crowd. When I glanced up to apologize, I see this woman with a small child on her hip using one hand to literally pull me away from the fence. Because she was only using one hand, she spun me completely around to face the street. I was stunned. I could hear everyone reacting to the fountain show, and here I was looking dumb, awkwardly facing a bunch of strangers. I yelled for my husband, but he couldn't hear me over the noise. I looked behind me, and this woman had plopped her child up onto the guardrail, never made eye contact with me, never said one word to me, and had treated me like a piece of luggage. I tried to stand up, but the people around me had crowded me so much I didn't have room to push my chair back enough. I desperately looked around at the strangers in front of me, hoping someone who had seen what happened would help. It then dawned on me that this was a huge family and friend group. They all began nudging me aside, further and further away from my family. It all happened so fast. I found myself pushed into the walking area, where people who weren't stopping to watch the fountain show were quickly trying to walk past. People couldn't see me through the crowd and were stumbling over past me. I couldn't see my family anymore and was trying to push myself up out of the chair the way my physical therapist had taught me. I feel someone grabbing my chair again and I panicked. I start yelling, "No, please no," and then realized it was my husband. He had glanced to check on me and to take a picture of me being out for the first time, and I was gone. He had to fight his way through the crowd, the same family group, to find me. I burst into tears. I don't know why, but it was like all the trauma from the last few years hit me all at once. I told him they had pushed me away, and after putting it together, my husband was pissed. He turned to this group of people and demanded to know who had pushed me away. By this time, the fountain show was pretty much over. The group initially just ignored my husband like they had me, until I pointed out the woman with her child as the culprits. My family confronted her, nicely I might add, and tried to explain why a wheelchair is an extension of a person, etc. She at first pretended like she didn't speak English, but I had heard them talking amongst themselves in English when they pushed me into the walking area, and I told my husband as much. She then gave up that act and told my family about how I was in their way and probably couldn't see anyway. And the man with her claimed, in a raised voice, that in their country, they don't take their shameful family members out in public. To which my husband responded, "If that were true, none of you would be here." I was maybe even more shocked by his last sentence than being wheeled away. I managed the courage to tell him that what he said was bullcrap and that I'm sure people in your country are actually kind and would be proud if I was their daughter. I remembered the exact words I said because later I was very proud that I stood up to him. The group sort of collectively scoffed, spoke to one another quickly in what I think was Hindi, and slowly walked away as if nothing happened. We didn't stay for the next show because I just wanted to go home. I don't know which is worse, pushing a disabled person in a wheelchair out of your way or wrongly painting your countrymen as prejudice. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed those first two stories. Before we get into the next story, if you guys could please do me a huge favor and hit that like button down below. Make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss any future videos. This next post is titled, "Entitled Mother, My Sister, Threw a Fit and Made Her Kids Cry Because I Didn't Take Them on Vacation with Me." A little over 2 years ago, I won a raffle at my job for an all-expense-paid family vacation. It wasn't some super fancy prize to Disneyland or anything crazy like that. It was just a nice 3-day stay at this little beach house inn place. It was for 4 people, and I asked around and found that the package deal cost just under $400. Pricey for me, but not so much for the older, more experienced coworkers I have. I, of course, asked my boyfriend at the time to go, but he couldn't take off school. I'd wanted to take my single friends and make it a girls' trip type deal, but they either couldn't because of work or other in real life responsibilities at the time, which I was sad about but understood. Since that plan was a bust, I decided to see if my sister and her 2 little kids wanted to come. I figured they'd enjoy it and so would my sister, and I didn't want to waste the tickets. Well, I went to visit my family that weekend, intent on asking sis if they'd want to come. But the longer I was there, the more I hated the idea. By the time I was packing up to go home, I knew I wasn't inviting them. I love my niece and nephew, but they were super bratty back then. They're doing better now these days, because my sister never disciplines them. Ever. I love them, but she lets them go into everything and never watches them unless someone, either me or our mom, yells at her to get off her butt and watch them. Visiting is always a chore because I end up watching them to give our mom a break. It's pathetic. And like every time I visit, my sis dumped them on me the entire time. Like usual, and by that point I knew if they'd come, it would just turn into me babysitting them while she had a vacation. So I didn't mention the trip and vacation and just said goodbye before leaving. The next day, I called my good friend Megan, because she has 2 kids. older than sister's kids, and very well behaved. And she's a single working mom who I figured could use a vacation. I asked if she would be free for XYZ days, and she was like, yeah, so I offered to invite her along with me on this vacation if she would pay for the gas to get us to and from there, while I would pay for the food for us to and from there, and she happily agreed. We went and had a blast. I got a pretty good tan, we ate lots of buffet food, swam at the beach, and did fun family kid-friendly type activities all weekend before coming back. Her kids were super sweet, and I didn't feel like I was babysitting at all, even when I was helping Megan with them. After I got home, I posted some pics I took. Nothing in your face, just a couple cute ones of me and us on the beach. And before lunch even rolled around on my first day back at work, sister was blowing up my phone. I knew ignoring her calls would just prolong the inevitable, so I answered. I barely got past my hey before she was asking me how the hell I could afford a vacation. I told her it was a raffle prize. She asked me who won, me or my friend, and I said me. I don't enjoy lying, it stresses me out. She proceeded to flip out, demanding to know why I hadn't invited her. I was honest and said because I didn't want to end up babysitting her kids for the entire vacation. She got mad and called me a butthole, then said I knew she needed a vacation and then hung up on me before I could reply. I just sighed and continued working. Later, while I was leaving work, our mom called and asked why I'd promised niece and nephew I'd take them on vacation. I said I never told them I would. I hadn't even spoken to them since the last time I visited. Turns out, sis told them we were all supposed to go on a beach vacation together, but I ruined it, and now they didn't get to go. So niece and nephew sobbed all day. It took our mom ages to get them to stop crying long enough to explain what was wrong. I told my mom my side, and she said I was mean to not invite sis, niece, and nephew. But she dropped it after I said I told her I didn't invite them because I didn't feel like babysitting my whole vacation. Mom also tore into sis for lying to her and also hurting her kids' feelings like that. Getting their hopes up about a vacation and then dashing them by saying I ruined it and they couldn't go. I wasn't there, but mom said sis threw a huge fit and basically trash talked me all afternoon. The only thing I really felt bad about was my sister getting niece and nephew's hopes up like that. That's the exact reason I never said anything to them. But to cheer them up, I took them the next weekend to a kids' play place. They're always on their best behavior with me, because they know I don't play like their mom, and I will turn my car around and take them home if they're bratty when they're with me. So they got to eat pizza, play games, climb this huge indoor jungle gym thing, and even ride a couple kiddie rides. I also sat down with them while they ate and explained that the trip I went on was for me and my friend, and they wouldn't have liked it because it got so hot and sweaty. They handled it very well, no tears or anything. Alright, that's going to wrap up today's Entitled Parents video. I hope you guys enjoyed those 3 stories today. If you did, definitely drop a comment down below letting me know what your favorite story was. Hit that like button, it really does help the video. And make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss any future videos. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time.